Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. To keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff, always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Philip Arthurs on the line, and he's a business buying coach and also host of the Business Miner podcast. Philip, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today, Adam.
All right, Philip. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about buying businesses and why that can be better than being an entrepreneur or even starting your own. So I'm excited to get into that. And I mean, just to maybe kick us off, maybe to tell us a little bit more about your business and what you're helping people do.
Absolutely. So I have the experience of buying and selling businesses. Just a quick background. I got my accounting degree at Auburn University. I'm a CPA. I got into one of the largest public accounting firms in the country, went into their consulting practice, did turnaround work, which means basically turn around failing businesses. The banks would usually hire us, say, hey, come in, turn this company around, help them start making their debt payments. And while I was doing that, the economy started doing well, so there was more work in the transaction side. So I got really heavily involved in doing due diligence for clients and just loved it, and got hired out from one of my larger turnaround clients. We'd put a big plan for them together, started with them, and within 5 years, I helped assemble a team, and my team and I helped grow that company's revenue 240%, and also increase the cash flow, or EBITDA cash flow, interchangeable there. So grew that about 500%, all in less than 5 years. It was a fun ride. A lot of what we did is we grew through acquisition, and we also paid very close attention to our numbers. You know, I'm a data nerd. I'm really good at Power BI, data analytics, and but business buying was a big part of how we grew, and it got me thinking, I said, this is something that other people need to know. They need to learn that you can now you don't have to start up. You can just go buy a business. Or if you already have an existing business, you can actually grow through acquisition.
Man, so I love that thought process. I love the thought process. And it's funny because as I look back at my entrepreneurial journey, I'm probably 20 businesses in, and this is the first one that actually took off or that's successful. And I'm like, man, if I obviously we can all say that we learned along the way, we did this, we did that, whatever. But then in the back of my head, I'm always like, man, what if I just went and bought one in the first place? Like I probably that could have worked too. And maybe I wouldn't have gone through as much pain in those early years. Not saying anything's easy, by the way. We know you don't just step into a business and everything's magic, right?
Right.
But I mean, there's something to be said, to taking something further that maybe somebody else had already started and going that route. So I guess that's my experience and my thought. But you live and breathe this stuff every single day. Why do you think that buying a business is better maybe than sometimes going the startup route?
That's a great question, Adam. So when you start up a business, as you know, you have to be everything. Unless you are going in with multiple partners and you guys have a ton of cash to help fund your startup, that might be an easy way. But a lot of people, they want to start up a business. Say a guy wants to start up a plumbing business, for instance. He's got to go out and get all the logos together, the sales taxes, if he's going to sell stuff, along with that, and he set up property tax accounts, and then service clients, sell the work, get more work in the door. So what you end up running into, and it's one of the top reasons why a lot of small businesses fail is cash flow. So I actually read an article that said cash flow is actually, I always heard it was cash flow is the number one reason, but I actually read this article that said cash flow is the number two reason why startups fail. But if you run out of cash, it's actually your oxygen, right, in your business. So it's so hard to manage that. So you're having to do everything, and if you're working, you're not selling. If you're not selling, you're not working. So you end up working yourself into a hole, and it's hard to come out of. Now, the number one reason why, according to this article I read, that small businesses fail is because they have lack of a proven concept, right? So if you have this great idea to do this startup, right, say I'm going to make neckties for kitty cats, right, or something like that. It's going to be great. You might put all the time, effort, money into this startup, and nobody wants the necktie for the kitty cat, right? So it's not going to sell. So you waste time, energy, money. You're crushed. You feel like a failure. So the better way, in my opinion, is go out. First of all, you need to know what you want in life, right? What kind of business will help suit your lifestyle. Then you go and you tell people about it, and you try to find this business that's going to fit what you want, and then you go and buy it. And you make sure the business you're buying is cash flowing, that it's profitable, and it's been profitable for multiple years. And then you buy that business, you become the instant CEO, and you start growing the company while you're making money. So you can even have it to where you're paying yourself a salary, able to cover your debt service, and have a little money left over to maybe do some social media marketing, right? Maybe you're buying a company that the owner is a older baby boomer and he's not really into social media marketing, and you could double. I actually interviewed a guy the other day. He doubled his revenue every year for the first 2 years because of small changes he made in his business that were not very expensive. So, and he had money, right? He did a startup first and he failed and it was miserable. And he was talking about not being able to, struggling with, feeding his family. So the startup is the harder way. Buying an existing cash flowing business is the easier way. And it's easier than people think as far as funding it as well. So there's ways to fund it that are pretty easy. So did I answer that question? I know that was a long answer.
So, Philip, I mean, there's some people listening that are, and obviously there's so much we can cover in, 10 to 15-minute podcast episodes. Right. But that being said, I guess, can anyone buy a business? I mean, is this for somebody like what's been your experience with buying a business? Because it sounds good and all, and but can anyone do that?
I would say that everybody, has the power in them to do it. Now, whether or not they're ready to do it right now, that's the question. So, I actually wrote an article about 12 things you need to consider before buying a business, and one of those things is mindset. And so you need to have the right mindset, but also you need to really understand: do you have the stomach to buy a business? Do you have the stomach that if you had to fire people because maybe your business is going through a hard time and you have to fire a third of your people? That's during this recording, we're dealing with the coronavirus in this country, and that's an actual real thing that people have had to deal with, firing their people and laying them off. So, do you have the stomach to do that? Now, money should never be an issue, in my opinion, because the reason why money should not be an issue is because you can raise money, right? You can put get a HELOC on your house. If you find people that believe in you and support you, that should not be a limiting factor. What could potentially limit you, especially if you're going to use financing, if you're going to use bank finance, SBA financing, is lack of experience in that industry that you're going after and lack of management experience. So for those out there who say, well, I'd love to own a business. Well, if you're not currently managing people, you need to do some things, start managing people. You need to start reading business books. You need to learn how to read a financial statement. So there's things you can do right now that within a year, if you do it right, within a year, you could be better prepared to buy a business. So yes, anyone can buy a business, but not everyone can buy a business right now, if that makes sense, Adam.
No, definitely. It definitely does. So how does somebody go about, searching for a business? I mean, what's the magic thing there? Because it sounds great, right? There's a business, it's cash flowing, this and that. Like, why would anybody sell it to me? Like, how does somebody go about looking for this?
Absolutely. So the easiest way, and it's not the best way in my opinion, but the easiest way is to find a business broker. You can go online. There's online websites. You can go out there and find businesses for sale. They're listed by brokers. The brokers make about 10 to 15%, depending on who they are, and that takes a big chunk out of the deal. So that's the easiest way. In my opinion, the best way is opening your mouth. Okay, when you're at the restaurant, or if you're a bar guy, if you're at the bar or talk to people, like, I'm looking for a business. This is what I'm looking for. I tell people all the time, I'm looking for a business that's doing over $1 million in revenue, that has a seller's discretionary earnings of $300,000 or more, and is relatively recession-proof. Something typically in the construction services space. So I could say that really quick, and I've had people say, "Oh, I've got a good opportunity for you." I have people send me opportunities all the time. It's like, "Hey, I remember you said this one time. Here's an email," and they emailed me the information. So I get stuff like that all the time. Also, my wife and I like to flip houses. So we have a construction partner who handles all the construction side, but we make a lot of the design decisions. It's a lot of fun. But we actually will. I was in a store the other day. It was a supply store, and I met the owner. It was a really nice lady, and I told her, "I love your company. It's got a good culture. It has a good feeling, family-friendly environment. You could tell they're doing a lot of business. Just you're seeing orders stacked around, and it's just the place was packed." And so I asked her if I could call her later, and she said, "Sure." I called her, and I told her that it would be the perfect business for me to buy, and asked if she had any desire to sell in the future. And so she got her husband on the phone, and we started talking about the business, and they were open to the conversation of selling. So they actually scheduled a meeting with their CPA for 2 weeks later. Towards the beginning of busy season, their CPA is going to meet with us and go over their financial records. So that lead just came from me opening my mouth, and opening your mouth is ask good questions, open your mouth, tell people what you want. That stuff will come to you. If you're focused on things in life, things that people really, really want, they should write down their goals, first of all, and then they need to talk about it. And be careful who you talk to, because you don't want to talk to somebody who's going to try to squash your dreams. There's people out there like that. They're toxic. Stay away from them. Weed them out of your life. But, somebody you know and trust, is going to be encouraging and also give you good, honest feedback. Like they may tell you, "Hey, I think you need to watch out for this," kind of advice. Or they may know you that maybe you're not a details person, and say, "Well, you need to probably find somebody who's more detailed that can review this offer or this deal." So having that is key. So.
Fantastic. So Philip, final question, a two-part question. So if somebody wants to learn more about buying a business or to connect with you and your team, number one, what's the best way for them to do that? And number two, you also have a podcast, the Business Miner podcast. I definitely want my audience to go check that out. I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. So for your listeners today, if they go to www.thebusinessminer.com/mission matters, there's going to be some resources out there just for your audience. And the Business Miner, so miner is spelled with an ER. So the idea is we're mining for businesses. We're looking for businesses to buy. So they go to www.thebusinessminer.com/mission matters. They'll be able to schedule a free consultation/coaching call for me, 30 minutes. And that's limited for a limited time. So if they want that, it may not always be available. They should jump on that quickly. There's also a letter of intent template out there. So people can download that and they can start using that to start making, it's a non-binding, so they can start making offers on businesses. Now, letter of intent just gets the deal out there and gets the conversation started. So that's out there for them if they're interested. And then also my podcast is on all the major, I don't know if you call them networks or what, but so it's on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, the whole 9 yards. Next, let's see, www.thebusinessminer.com/podcast. where we have all the podcasts that we've done, and then show notes. They can click on show notes, and there's a transcription. So if somebody is hearing impaired, they can actually go out there and read the podcast.
Fantastic. Well, Philip, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at thebusinessminer.com. And for the audience, as always, if you like to apply to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you apply. Just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Be Our Guest to apply. And Philip, thanks again for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Adam. It was fun. Have a blessed day.